Morning, all of you. Thanks for the opportunity by Padmasai Madam to spend some time with my parent institution on delivering a lecture about the basic and the needs of some of the Python, what actually industry is looking to nowadays. Thank you. So before we start completely about Python, I just wanted to share some idea of how the programming have evolved and how does it make some difference towards the rational thinking, etc. So nowadays, basically, just a second, I was asked to record.
Already started.
Recording already started. Fine,
Yeah.
ma'am. Okay, sure, sure. So we have a lot of computing device nowadays, like any other computer. Like for example, if I say there are plenty of devices nowadays around us which are positively handling a lot of data through some applications, and they have a lot of hardware and software compatibility between them, which provide us some kind of very good establishments and very good synchrony between the given input and the produced output. Right. So to understand more about any computer, so basically what are all the hardware and software things that are embedded with any device can be called as any computer. Like for example, here I have mentioned few of the computers that we are been traveling through in a nowadays regular day to day life. So any computer which has any hardware and software device, the software programming with it, which is in synchrony, can be called as a computer, especially when we have a lot of devices that can be networked with each other and can be uh, controlled by a super computer kind of thing called server. And when we come to regular devices like smartphones, etc., we have a high computational power nowadays are available with these devices, which is almost comparatively equally computational with respect to any other computer that we have nowadays. And especially some things like wearables, like kind of it could be any wearable watch, it could be any wearable headset, or it could be wearable some other medical device, healthcare conscious device, etc., are also nowadays are equipped with some kinds of small chips which will be continuously recording some data, analyzing the data, and giving us some kinds of insights over the data. And then many people are interested into the gaming consoles where there will be high computational power needed, like graphic cards and a bigger UI supporting devices, etc. So along with that, nowadays we have more Android TVs available, which also have equally computational with respect to any other computers. So all the devices that I have specified here, which is having equally computational capability, are able to understand some kind of programming. And when we are converting any sort of general programming into a machine level programming, it will be trying to decode whatever the task that we are actually assigning to them and able to provide some kind of output. It is not just like humans cannot do this, humans can do that, and hence we are using them. It is not only in a positive or a negative perspective, but also to assist many of us who are for example, if I say there are some physically handicapped people, and there are some devices which are equipped with some computational power, are helping those disabled people to do their real-time activities. And similarly, there are plenty of other medical related computing machines also available, which help us to reduce the stress of the day-to-day life activities to go in a more positive or smoother fashion. Right. So in a whole, I wanted to just let the students understand that it is not only about coding something and debugging whatever we have written the code, but also there should be a flavor of real-time use for any kind of device. Right. So our main purpose of moving from one kind of functional programming to something like using a bigger libraries and making some real-time purposeful applications is to help the human kind in many ways, right? So basically this course I would like to mention some of the basic ideas of developing the course content. So it is not only just for the academic orientation, but also many of the companies that I've been looking into also are likely to take people who are having a great hands-on experience on Python and their relevant applications, right? So maybe within a 2 year or 3 year from now, you can consider that this is the only language, or this is the only thing that going to rule the entire programming community, because lot of scopes are being coming out of this machine learning based, data science based applications through Python platforms. And because of that, students must be equipped yourself with a good Python base, and also how to implement some kind of applications over the existing libraries, etc., right? So this course have the following things. So computers are everywhere. So we must first understand how these computers are trying to help us to overcome some difficulties that we are facing in our day-to-day life. And it is imperative to understand a language they speak. So we must first made some kind of medium to communicate that you need something, this kind of help from the computer. So you need some kind of basic a language to speak with them. So here our interest of the language of the course is Python, and similarly to understand how computers can be used to automate these repetitive tasks kind of things. So humans are always biologically so talented that they can repeat the task with a similar kind of output in many different ways. But when you write a program and try to run it n number of times, they run in the similar way and produce the same kind of output for n number of times that you need, right? So for achieving different purposes like this, so it could be some kind of biological needs that humans are facing some difficulties in reaching, or some other kind of computing purposes, and to define some kind of good applications, etc., we need to make computers understand what we actually want, and make computer to work and produce some kind of result in such a way. And that is the reason why we are trying to write something of our own kind of program, right? So I hope by the end of this 6 7 days course, you will be definitely able to write some good programming in Python. So usually how we process some kind of programming languages, rather than while we have some description of the problem, rather than directly jumping into the code, or giving a solution for the problem description, we'll be trying to decode the problem in some ways, and which is usually called as modeling the problem, how the problem can be answered in different ways, and how that different ways can be actually in a real time manner we can able to move forward with it, and how logical solution can be supporting that model of the problem, etc., can be concluded and then move to some kind of code based solution. So that is how computer scientists or computer developers is trying to give some kind of solution for any a given problem. So it is not just like, so I'm so much enthusiastic towards some language of computer, and if any problem is given, I'll directly write some kind of code to that. It is not like that. The main understanding inside so main understanding of the problem itself gives you the solution, or how many ways to attack that problem, etc., right? So first and foremost thing that any person into the programming must understand that how to describe the problem, and how to model the problem in a logical fashion. And with this logic, how can we able to program in some format of language? Here our format of language is Python, definitely, right? So maybe after getting enough experience or something, with that specific experience, these separation between these modules may be blurred out, right? So but in the initial stages of writing some kind of programming thing while describing some kind of problem, we definitely need that kind of understanding of modeling, and then applying some kind of logic solution to the model, and then finding out which logical solution would be better suit to describe the problem, and then attacking that particular logical solution with some coding fashion. And one better example that we can see in our day-to-day life is IRCTC website, where crores of people are continuously working with uh, the website for just checking, for booking, for canceling, and for some other purposes too, right? So what happens if just there is a delay of 2-3 seconds when you hit the button to verify whether the tickets are available in the for the specific train or not? It will be a little bit boring kind of thing, right? Though we have a very good internet connection, etc., if there are plenty of people more than what it can support, are running at it to find out the train tickets, especially for some kind of applications like Tatkal ticket booking kind of things. It will be very huge crowd, huge what do we say, data that is being connected and reflected back and modeled in some format and giving you back some kind of result. Or when you are reaching even the payment page, when if you get some kind of reply that your session is expired, it will be little boring, right? So for any problem, definitely we need some kind of definitions according to the model, right? Or the other way around is, we if we are able to define some kind of problem in such a way, what are the models that we have already existing, and how we can overcome those difficulties inside the model. So likewise, we should be trying to understand the definitions of the problems and the drawbacks of the existing models, and prosper to some kind of new model. So in real life, this is important, and some kind of complicated version of any programming to be written in some format, right? So if model is not proper, definitely the end result will be definitely unsatisfactory, right? So but if there are very lesser amount of traffic that is being traveled through the IRCTC kind of website, then it will be so cool that whenever we hit that button, the result will be thrown at our screen in a very shorter seconds, right? So then it will be so cool to use such kind of websites. But whenever we try to assemble some kind of things in a higher traffic sessions, etc., it will be little difficult, and we should able to understand how to overcome those difficulties kind of thing. So in this course, most of the time, all problems will be defined in a more precise way, and will be so simple rather than so complex kind of thing, because this is a basic Python based course. So we'll be trying to attempt whatever the very basic kind of things, right? So most of the time, a model and some examples will also be provided for the questions I'm trying to give you, and it does not happen maybe in a real life kind of things also, right? So I'm not in this course especially, I'm not considering some general real life problems to be solved, but a very small statistical or small mathematical or small signal processing based kind of solutions to some problems. And step two is to obtain the logical solution to our problem. So a logical solution is finite and clear, step-by-step procedure to solve your problem. So it is that giving us some kind of understanding about finite, right? So our logical solution is finite. So it means there should be some numerical based or number that we, if we say there should be some 10 number of solutions, or there should be some 5 number of solutions that we can consider, and they can be made some step by step fashion. So it should not be like there are plenty of answers to this problem, why should we need to solve this, or we can consider any of the solution to apply to this problem. It is not like that. It should not be in a vague way like that, right? So, and that is the reason why we are considering very profound and easier ways of understanding the logical solutions, and trying to make some kind of procedure in a step by step fashion for that logical solution to be created, right? And we usually call that kind of solution to be something called algorithm, right? So if we are trying to write some number of steps of solving some kind of problem with a logical solution, we usually call it as algorithm. Or if we are calling some kind of algorithm as a flow chart, if we are able to visualizing what such algorithm is actually trying to give you out, right? So very important step in the programming process is to define some kind of algorithm to solve some problem, and also to make some kind of flow chart that which is iterating between some number of steps and giving you what kind of a process that is being happened at some specific step and all. So if I say some kind of algorithm, you may be feeling that okay, if after this kind of step we must execute this kind of step, and this is connected to right half of the problem, and hence we should move this side, and hence this will be followed kind of thing. So for example, there is a meme in a Big Bang from a Big Bang theory that there is a friendship algorithm or flowchart, where whenever you like something, you eat something, or whenever you go out for somewhere, so you have to take some kind of help or some kind of information to your friend, share information to your friend, and etc. It cannot be completely in the similar way, right? So for sometimes we'll be moving out in our own way, sometimes we'll be asking some other friend to accompany us, or sometimes we'll be going with our family, or sometimes we'll be eating something else, right? So these kind of way, whenever we ask to write some kind of algorithm in a step-by-step fashion, there must be some kind of solutions given for the specific scenario. It should not be something that in a generalized fashion with infinite number of steps and loops that can be connected together, right? Similarly, if I ask to make a microwave chocolate cake, there are some set of steps that to be followed and included to make a chocolate cake, right? For example, I have some refined flour to consider at 165 grams, baking powder of 2 teaspoons, chocolate grated must be at 110 grams, butter should be 130, and so on. There are some ingredients that are necessary, and according to the algorithm or according to the flow chart, there are some steps included to mix these contents in some proper way. And what if it is extendable? Like for example, if it is instead of 165 grams, I mistakenly consider 200 grams. So proportionally, we have to increase the ratios of each and every other alternate that we have, right? So algorithms also must be in the similar fashion. So if it is not this, if I raised this kind of bar for some specific reason, what should be the other alternative for the other products? Or how can I make the same kind of chocolate cake with similar kind of description, even if I have more amount of cake to be prepared, and so on, right? So always we should be thinking in a multi-directional way that okay, for a finite kind of questions we can answer it in this way, for this finite kind of questions we can answer it in this way, and so on. So step 3 is to converting that algorithm into some kind of working code. It could be any kind of language that we can consider, but that should be properly able to produce some kind of answer to our problem, right? So this is a stage where you require a language that can be communicated to any computer, right? So whenever you say language, definitely the syntax and semantics must be allowed, right? For example, if I say English, if I say Telugu, if I say Hindi, they have their own syntaxes and semantics. I can pronounce it in different way, but the answer or the meaning of it should not be changed, right? So the syntax and semantics are two things that we have to keep in mind continuously while we are working on some language, right? So if your model or the logical solution is something wrong, then the program will also be wrong. So we must be little conscious while working with some kind of algorithm and converting that algorithm into a working code, right? So that is what we use in the programming language in a more precise way, that if you are giving an input garbage, definitely we will be producing output also a garbage. So we should be definitely keeping some aesthetics into control, and make some kind of algorithm and convert that algorithm into some form of coding work, and then understand what actually that language has, like for example I am saying here as syntax and semantics, right? So like that, how that language gives us a better understanding, or better logical solution, and so on, and apply a good input to produce a good output, right? So rather than applying some kind of bad algorithm, creating a bad flow chart, writing a code in a very vague way, and applying some kind of good input also may not create a good output, right? And next, to understand this conversion process of algorithm into a working code, so I do have some examples like this. For example, um, uh, there is a marathon with some set of rules and regulations. If I say, for example, a marathon last year happened in the same medium, has an average run speed of some 8.5 kilometer per hour. It doesn't mean everybody who are attending the marathon should go by 8.5 kilometer per hour speed, right? So there are some set of rules and regulations, and you should reach the as good as possible with a as much pretty interest kind of thing you have to keep, and understand what is there inside and how to reach the goal by following the rules and regulations of the marathon, right? So similarly, if we are trying to arrange some number of students in the class based on some kind of heights, etc., so how to organize the students in the form of by considering the heights of any student. So we have to consider many things into control. So how the students face is, or how students hair is, or how the student looks like, they depends on several lot of factors when you are even arranging the student based on height, because according to that there will be a focus that can be created to the student in such a way to understand what is there on the board, or what is the lecture giving by a faculty, right? So there must be lot of things like that, though we randomly or we precisely say that okay, students can be arranged in a class based on height, but there are lot of other things also to consider, right? Similarly, jumping on a bed or making a morning tea, etc. So all of these have some set of rules and regulations to follow to produce a good output, but it is not exactly that we have to follow this to produce this, right? So there are some other things also to consider while working with definitely a programming language like Python, right? So we shall move into the basics of Python, uh, where I say this is the world's most used programming language now because of its uh, uh, applications, the libraries that are being put into, etc., etc. Right. So coming to a small history of Python. So basically, this fellow Van Razam have created the scripting language for making some kind of administrative tasks, nothing else, to make some kind of automation that can happen with the administrative tasks. So he tried to mimic some kind of Excel based and Ali based kind of software, and he produced some kind of good results out of the language, right? And later on, after working on the scripting language for a few years, so he released it in public source on an internet, and allowed many people to offer their own libraries to make other coding people also to use them in a very simple way, right? So it means he has expected some kind of freedom to code, and similarly others also to allow to make some kind of additions to the existing programming language by adding some number of libraries, adding some number of APIs, etc., right? So in his words, what he's trying to say in the initial days of while releasing the Python is just an experiment in how much freedom that programmers need. So too much freedom and nobody can read another's code. Too little and expressiveness is endangered. So those times usually it took a lot of time for people to understand how the syntax and semantics of any other programming language is. But this Python, which is almost like a general purpose language like any other readable language like English, Telugu kind of thing. So it is allowing more programmers to start using and producing some applications out of it in a very simple way. A very simple way. They need only a very few lines, 1 2 lines of code, where we can execute some addition kind of operation and print the result. We don't need any lot of libraries to be included before the start of writing a code or executing the code, or we don't need any kind of initialization of what do we say, different data types of variables and so on, right? So we'll look into that very shortly. But the story of Python by the creators Guido van Rossum. So I'll share you a video link post this session, so you can watch that session where he is trying to emphasize the importance of programming part for any coder, and how freedom they should take to write some kind of code and to edit that code and to make that new code apply for any new application, etc. So the basic question, any internet can answer this one. So why is this language named Python? Can someone unmute yourself and answer me? I think most of you know this. Yes, somebody answer me. Why is this language named Python? Hello, nobody know. Oh, so sad.
Prashant?
Okay, fine. So there is a British comedy group called Monty Python, and this fellow Van Rossum is a big fan of Monty Python, and hence he named this programming language as Python. Right. Fine. So there are plenty of rules, plenty of interest that people say about Python in for many ways. So why you are considering Python as your interest of language, etc. So there are plenty of web pages, blogs, and other medium based platforms available. But more or less, the most interesting answer is Python is the future, because Python has many more number of libraries allowed to make some kind of data science based applications and operations, and especially data analysis based, data visualization based um, operations, right? So there are also some interesting facts we must understand before we start learning Python. So the main verdict people in the industry try to focus on while using Python is Python is slow in terms of some speed. What is slow? What is speed? So as Python is a high level language, it is expected that the results produced by the language must be as fast as any other high level languages. But comparatively, for many operations, it is though it gives us a quick result. For some kind of operations, it takes some time to interpret some kind of statements that are available in the code, and take some time to produce the output, right? So as Python is an interpreter based language, not a compiler based language, comparatively it gives us a quicker result than any other language. But some for some applications, as said, uh, or some way of attempting the problem using Python also allows us to reduce the outcome by some time, right? And also Python is something like dynamically typed language, so we can start up with some form of writing the code, and then we can move forward to represent the other things, and then we want to use some other variables to be installed, etc. So it is allowed. It is not like a basic language like C, where we have to consider all the variables at the starting part of description of any program and so on, right? So there is no need of describing what actually the variable is, what type of variable it is, etc. But we will be moving forward just by considering some part of idea of how to use that variable in the program, and likewise we'll be trying to produce some kind of results out of it, right? And then Python is a global interpreter. Python has a global interpreter lock, so that is also allowing us to make programs to quicken up, as well as at some point of times some ways of attempting to write the code also makes us a bit slower comparatively. A bigger negotiation is happening nowadays between Python versus any other language, that is multi-threading. So multi-threading is something like multitasking, not exactly, but multitasking, right? So where our computers and mobile phones nowadays are allowing us to uh, 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 go for a better multitasking devices, right? So but earlier Python, whatever it is there before 2.9 version, so 2.9 or 2.7x versions, so they don't allow multi-threading, but later on they have included lot of libraries to overcome that problem of multi-threading. And even we can say, when any game kind of thing that is developed with Python will take will use more amount of computational power, and makes our devices more to produce more heat, right? So these kind of problems are being overcome with lot of other libraries that are being used on cloud nowadays. So most of the multi-threading problems that are being faced with Python are also being overcome. Why Python is so popular? So 9 by 10 times the slower performance of Python actually doesn't matter, as said. So because there are plenty of other alternates that we have while using the Python, though we have a bit slower kind of output produced compared to any other high level language like Java, JavaScript, etc. But Python have very small kind of semantic and syntax to be followed to understand, make a computer understand what we are actually trying to ask for. And also because of more productive outcome that is being produced out of Python, also making us don't care about whether it is even giving the slower performance comparatively. So there is another meme. So if we are comparing two other languages like Python, Java, C++, Unix shell, assembly C, latex, and HTML, there are a lot of comparisons between each and every language, because as said, they are trying to as Vandasam in the first release told us that it is just a kind of freedom that is being given to any other coder. So it is not that our language of Python, whatever we are talking about, is not a great among the languages. It is not like that. Though we are just trying to take some kind of things from Java, some kind of things from C++, or some other language, or some other scripting based language also. It doesn't matter. But at the end, we are trying to make some easy way of writing up code, and because of that, it is helping us to make a program or a definition or some kind of application to be developed in a more simple fashion, right? So I cannot say that exactly Python follows this kind of thing from Java, this kind of thing from C++, etc. But it has some inherent properties that is being taken from those languages also. So is the speed only factor you should consider while working with Python? Not only that, or we can say there are some intensive speed intensive applications we are being used nowadays by using Python, especially like when every phone has a gyroscope nowadays, so which is continuously recording some movement between one coordinate to the other coordinate, and that recording is being analyzed and producing as a result within a very fraction of time, right? So all of these small things like analysis of data is being organized by a Python language inside, right? So there are plenty of applications like that where a very good outcome is being produced, even it is not a so fast compared to any other high level language that is there inside the market. So moving to how we can able to compare the languages. For example, here we have shown something in what is this language? Can someone hash include stdio.h int main printf hello world get ch? What is the result from this? Someone? Okay. Yeah, hello world will be the result. And what is the language?
C.
C. Yeah, perfect. So this is just to print a small hello world, but we are trying to include a standard library stdio.h, and we are trying to start a program with int main, and to return the result every time we are writing something called getch, right? So this is what the code we write in C to print a small statement called hello world. Similarly, if we go to Java, this is Java. Hope you have an idea. If you don't have an idea about Java also, no problem. So I'm just creating something called class, and in that class I'm writing a public static void main where it will be returning some string in the form of some arguments, and to produce the output, instead of printf in Java we write system.out.print hello world, right? So this is Java. Just to print the same hello world, in Python what we are trying to do is print of hello world. That's it. So you can just understand how the complexity of mentioning what we wanted to print in one language to the other to Python, right? That is the reason why we say that is very simple to learn, easy to learn, and yet very equipped with full features, and therefore easily readable and maintainable with any sort of programs that we consider. It is not only about just printing something like hello world, but also if we can go further in writing some kind of complex tasks of making some statistical analysis or mathematical calculator kind of analysis, etc. So a small meme again. So in Python, if Python meets C language, so as C is a bit older comparatively, it is like this. And as said, it is simple, easy, and at full featured. So if you have some programming experience, it's simple to shift. So like said, you any engineering graduate starts learning with C because it have a lot of basic things to understand how programming has developed humans, and how humans try to communicate computers with different programming patterns, right? How does that ecosystem has developed in the industry, right? And that is the reason why still today we start with some programming language like C to code, and then we shift from C to some other better languages of the time, right? So that kind of shift is also very easy to move from any other language to Python. So if you do not have programming experience, then it is better. If you have programming experience, that is also fine, right? So I use it to say many times to my listeners that I know 7 8 languages in a very broader manner, but still today I use it to confuse a lot between writing some comments. In one language we use percentage symbol to comment, in other language we use hash, in some other language we use tick mark, etc., right? So or in some other language we even use exclamatory mark to define some kind of comments, right? So it should be little, you should be little aware of what kind of things that we are being used in what kind of language, in order to overcome that okay, you are being confused between this language to that language kind of thing, right? And then this specific thing will cover full data science task cycle, like acquisition, data pre-processing, databases, data analytics, machine learning, big data, HPC, and more. So it is an interpreted language. As said, the debugging is comparatively more easier and simple. So the less code size than any other familiar languages that we talk about. So because of that, also it makes us to learn it in a more simple way, easy to implement, etc. And as said, it has a very huge library support. I mean, there are a lot of people, lot of researcher communities are trying to make some kind of frameworks, libraries, and development tools and APIs to support this language to be applied for many other applications. Like for example, the web application frameworks like Django, Flask, Pyramid, Bottle, Cherry Pie are one of the best source of these libraries that Python have. Because in early days, when we want to develop a web application, we use it to start with programming in HTML, PHP, etc. But nowadays, because of the flexibility that Flask has been giving into Python, is just helping us to code in 2 3 lines to just create a small web page. And if we want to add some kind of videos, images, or some other metrics to that specific web page, also is very simple comparatively. You no need to specifically say that okay, after this point we must start with this video, and after this point we must start with this color, etc., right? We don't need to specify some things in such a huge way. So it is so simple that okay, I'm uploading this kind of video, later after this video this will be coming, that's it, right? We don't need anything manually written in the form that we did earlier. So it is almost like automated kind of things happening nowadays because of these some kind of frameworks like Django, Flask, etc., right? And also some machine learning and data science frameworks are helping us to just call those libraries and trying to answer things in a very simple way, like scikit-learn, SciPy, Keras, TensorFlow, NLTK, and some other libraries like uh, any other libraries that we are going to see a day, 1 2 days time, right? So there is a better opportunity for this Python learners to look into various types of analytical and uh, processing based industries, because the AI and machine learning especially are we are actually trying to automate each and every part of the applications nowadays, and AI and machine learning are booming such a way in nowadays. So these data science libraries that I have told earlier, like scikit, scipy, keras, etc., are really helping these data science applications to boost a lot. And that is the reason why this Python is also being used into main part of the data science applications. Though there is a programming language called R, which is a big competitive for analyzing and plotting, but slowly whatever the advantages of are there are also being overcome by Python, right? And it will be used for web application development, desktop applications, mobile applications, games, web scraping, powerful visualizations, hardware, and more. So it is a kind of all-rounder programming language nowadays in the whole world. So that is why we are trying to understand and use more Python in our application building. So it is highly portable. Python code can run on any machine, whether it is Linux, Mac, or Windows, etc. So it has great corporate sponsors like Google, etc., so who are funding to maintain those websites or libraries, or to update or something like that, right? So that is what we usually call it as huge community base. And the compatibility with major platforms and systems also, it is very good. You no need to manage more to be more compatible with any other device. So it is also almost equal and simple to manage some kind of Python based applications in any other platform and system. So other reasons are like even Python forms the basis of new platforms like Raspberry Pi, etc., which are suitable for areas of Internet of Things. And also, as said, it is backed by a great sponsors, corporate sponsors, and hence it is even today it is free and open source. Coming to the programming cycle for Python, so for any programming language, we start writing a code after understanding what the problem definition is and logical solution it is, so logical solution of it is, and creating some kind of algorithm and flowchart for it. We move forward to write some code, right? So when we start writing code and run it, if the code is okay, we'll be assigning or allowing to give more number of inputs and check whether the program is perfectly producing the output for every other input that we applied. If there are any changes, or when we run, if there are any errors, and if it is not allowing us to apply more number of inputs, then we will be just changing the code and rerun. So there are some platforms for Python. Like for example, if I say Python is available in many forms nowadays, like bare Python, we can call it as, so which we can just install the Python and run in command line, right? So command prompt, if you open and start initiating Python 3, that is enough. We can write whatever the code that we want. You can run, we can change the code, modify, produce different kinds of outputs, etc., etc. And the other one is who are not a kind of command or bash or shell based programmers, then you must definitely need something called a graphical user interface based Python, so which are also called as IDEs. So where we have plenty of IDEs available. From them, Anaconda and PyCharm are more used, which are also available for free, and which are more used nowadays, right? Also along with that, there are plenty of other online platforms available. For example, Google's Colab is one of the Google supported online Jupyter platform, where we'll be just trying to create one page, write some code block and run it, and then we can create a new code block and run it, etc., right? So Pruter is the IIT Kanpur and Kharagpur based IDE kind of thing, where we can just run it online, but we need a account to be created before start using the Pruter. And also there are other platforms in Anaconda, where Jupyter is one another big thing that is introduced earlier. So where you will be writing some kind of a code in a notebook format, exactly like how Google's Colab work. So Google's Colab all is a kind of platform where they have used the idea of Jupyter, right? So while coming to the IDEs, we have Python shell, editor, and debugger for object inspector, etc. And if we see some kind of spider kind of IDE, it will be looking like this. After installation, we have some toolbar here where you can see plenty of options, and this is the place where editor looks like, and this is the place for debugger or inspector, and this is the IPython shell where the outcomes whatever are there you can see will be seen in the console. Console is nothing but some kind of place where you can directly apply the code or see the output where you want, right? So for this uh, session, I try to use Google's Colab in the way. So colab.research.google.com is a basic link for Colab. So you can parallelly try to start with. Okay, so you can see if you are a new user, to Colab, so you must first log into your own Google account. That is mandatory. So when you log in into the Google account, then you can able to start accessing the collaboratory. Okay, so I'm just showing you how to start with it. So you can parallelly make a run about how to use Colab. So first log in into the Google account. So you are already in the Google Meet. So definitely you have logged into some of your Google account. So now what you have to do is type you just type colab.research.google.com. I repeat, colab.research.google.com. Okay, so if you hit enter, it will be producing some kind of page with examples, recent, Google Drive, GitHub, upload options available, right? So everybody getting this? Any issues? Just raise your voice. I'll stop and see what is happening there. Okay, so you everybody able to open Colab? Fine. Yeah. So if there is no problem, I'll move forward. So there are plenty of examples, other recent files, Google Drive, GitHub upload. These five are the options that are available with Colab in the initial page. So what we have to do as a new user is you have to check for new notebook. New notebook. If you hit new notebook, you will be redirecting to produce a new notebook. What is this notebook business is? Python is available in two different formats, that is .py and .ipynb, right? So while working with a Jupyter based platform, you are forced or allowed to only work with ipynb. Okay, so IPython notebook, exactly like a notebook here. If you go for writing some code here, for example, a equal to 10, b equal to 20, and then I am clicking on code, c equal to a plus b, and then I'll go with c, printing c. So I can write each and every part of the code separately like this. In notebook, I am allowed to write every part of the code like
Anudeep,
this.
font
Madam.
size is very less. We are unable to see that one.
Okay, madam, I'll try to increase it. We can able to see, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now. So there are some options here. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to write a code. So what is the basic difference between IPynb and .py is we can able to write the code in the form of code blocks. So you can see this is a code block, this is a code block, and this is a code block, right? So like if you want to initialize the variables, we can use one code block. If you want to make some kind of mathematical connection between the variables, we can use another code block. If you want to print any of the result, you can use another code block, and so on. What if I want to write everything in the same code block? That is also allowed, not a problem, right? So after writing them, initializing them, writing some kind of logic between A, B, and C, and then trying to print C, we can do like this. So this button, whatever is there on the left hand side, play button, will be allowing us to run only this code block, not the entire program, right? So for the first time, whenever you start running one of the code block, it will be trying to initialize and connect to the Python 3 Google Compute Engine in the backend, and allow you to create some kind of RAM and space over the disk in the cloud, right? And whenever there is some RAM and disk provided, it will be very soon you will be getting the outputs, right? But for the first time, it will take a bit more time to create that connection between your Google page and the Colab server, right? So I have a equal to 10, b equal to 20, and c equal to a plus b. So I said a and b are initialized. So now a plus b is stored in c, and I want to print c, and it is so easy in Python that to print c, right? Simple. Now I wanted to also see what is there inside a and b. Instead of print statement, I am using CAB. It means I am just finding out the result of CAB in this fashion, right? So there is some problem in Python that until you use the print statement, the output will be printed only if there are plenty of variables with some values. The last variable will be printed in the output. Okay, we will come back to it in a bit more time, but for an understanding, I am trying to show you that we can print any number of items at any point of time in the whole code blocks available like this, right? So we will come back to understanding what is there inside the program, how to print everything in a possible way, etc. But before that, we will see what are the different options that are available with Colab. So after creating the Colab, so you have seen that there are some options available here. The title of that specific IPyNB file. For example, I say I'm naming it as VNR_1. Right. So this VNR_1 is the name of my notebook. Right. So, and it will be automatically updated every moment of time. So you can see all changes saved. You no need to save every time. Okay, so many people of you have a habit of continuously hitting Control S. So you don't need to save every time after you make some changes. It will be auto saved automatically in the cloud by itself, right? So first interesting thing I want to explain here is there are some code blocks allowed to write like this. If you hit this code plus, there will be a code block produced. Similarly, there is also a text box allowed where you can write some kind of statement of understanding. For suppose I'm writing sum. I have a, b as my inputs. Now sum c equal to a plus b. So after few number of days or years, even after that, you try to open and see this particular page, you can see that okay, first we have initialized some inputs and we are applying some operation between these inputs. Or if you want to describe it in a more specific way, sum of two numbers. Okay, like this. Similarly, if we want to highlight it in a different fashion, for example, I have selected this statement I have written here and going for toggle heading. Toggle heading creates some kind of thing like this, where this is how we can able to see that. Similarly, if we want to create some other things, we can just increase the number of toggles so that we'll be seeing to that fashion. Right. Similarly, if we want some kind of bold font, we can go for selecting this so that we can go for bold font. Similarly, italic, we can see the italic font. Similarly, if you want to embed something, we can see that there is some a fashion printed like this. Similarly, if we want to add a link to this, we can also add any link to this. Like for example, if I want to add my link here like this, so it is allowed just by clicking to this after running this part of the program, this part of the collab book. Just when we hit this, automatically the server will be redirected to this page to open. Right. Similarly, if we want to add some pictures also, we can able to add pictures at this position. Similarly, we can also edit the text based on some kind of format, some kind of indentation, some kind of numerical number list, some kind of other bullet point representations and changes, emojis, date and times. Plenty of other options also available. Right. So, but for now, I'm interested just to write what is the sum of two numbers. That's it. Okay. So before this, if you select any of the code block or the text box that is available, you can see there are some options that is given here. Right. So if you hit the arrow mark, it will be coming down. If you hit the arrow mark upside, it is moving up, and so on. Right. Similarly, we have other options to fetch. In file, we have something in called locate in drive. That means whatever the program that you are writing here will be located auto saved into your Google Drive. Automatically, it will be saved into your Google Drive, and you can locate it as simple as possible. And in the same format, open in playground mode. Playground mode is something where the single code will be opened with multiple people. Like for example, if five friends are trying to work on the same code, so then instead of just sharing the collab link, we can directly open in the playground mode where 2 3 people combinedly work on the same part of the codes. New notebook creates a new notebook, open notebook creates uh, open fashion like this. So whatever the initial page that we have seen, you'll be trying to open that. So you can select any of the options that are available. For example, if it is there in your computer, you can select upload, choose file. There are plenty of options that are available here. It will be asked for some of the question, right? So where we have to take it from, some kind of thing like that. Similarly, if you have a GitHub account, you can just give the path of that GitHub account to open and run that particular code in Colab. Similarly, Google Drive, I have plenty of programs in my Google Drive available, and they are seen here. Okay, so here VNR1 is that what I am trying to work on, and that is shown in the first because that is a very recent one that I am opening. Similarly, recent, similarly examples are some things that are given by the Google itself as a code snippets. Okay, so you can open it if you want at any point of time you want to find and fetch what are the instructions that are available with that part, right? So like that, we can use open notebook or upload notebook kind of thing. You can rename that just by checking the rename. Automatically the cursor will be highlighted at this point of place where you can rename. And move to bin, move, you can move from one part of the Google Drive to the other part. And similarly, move to bin means you will be moving to the trash. Similarly, save a copy in GitHub, just continuously, save a copy in GitHub directly, etc. All these options are very helpful for us to maintain a record as well as to continuously understand and save the program in some other fashion also if you need. Similarly, one of the more used thing is to download the IPNB file or the code that we are writing here in two different formats, because as said, in computer we can able to run the Python file in. Okay, so hello. Okay, mute yourself, please. So like that, we have plenty of other options available to use the same file at many places. For example, I want to share the IPNB file with one of my friends so that he can run the same, he or she can run the same and work if I want some kind of changes in the code. Or similarly, if they don't have any internet-based or notebook-based, Jupyter platform-based Python available with them, so they can also use the .py file, which can be directly open in idle or PyCharm or some other computer based platforms, right? Even you can also directly go for print whatever the code that we have written here, right? Similarly, there are plenty of other options available for editing, to view and insert some of the other codes or texts or something else. And main interesting thing here is the runtime, where you have plenty of run options available with the Google Colab than any other Jupyter based platform, right? For example, you can select run all and able to run all the code blocks that are available, and they'll be printing if there are any print results to be printed. And similarly, run the focused cell, only one focused cell whatever is there can be run. Or if you want to select 2 3 different cells and run, you can run. Or if you want to run whatever the cell that was there after the specific part of the program, you can run. You can find out what interrupt execution is, you can see, or you can apply the restart format of runtime, or you can at any point of time try to restart and rerun everything, or you can disconnect to the collab and delete the runtime, or you can also change the runtime type. What is runtime type here is there is something called hardware accelerator that I have shown you, that I have told you earlier, that plenty of applications nowadays are being written in uh, normal Python. But what is being also happening is uh, when you don't have any GPU or any other accelerator with you, like for example GPU or TPU, you can use those GPU and TPU to run your programs. For example, if I have a very big data set, for example, any image classification data set or some other healthcare or brain kind of imaging data sets, we need lot of computational power to run them for many number of instances. So for those kind of applications, we need something called hardware accelerator, where this GPU and TPU are helping us to create a faster outputs than the earlier things that where we are just working with a basic server. Okay, so that is one advantage that we can say while using Google Colab. We easily able to access the GPU or TPU. GPU stands for graphical processing unit and TPU stands for tensor processing unit. Tensor processing unit is nothing but most of the image analysis or video kind of analysis are happen through some tensors. Okay, so those kinds of tensors can be easily processed by TPUs. Similarly, like manage sessions, view resources, etc., are options also available here. Similarly, tools like command palette, settings, or keyboard shortcuts. We can use plenty of shortcut keys that we usually use in our daily computer activity. So similarly, here also we can able to do, or if you want to change them, you can also change them to whatever you want. Right. So these are some basic idea about how to make use of Colab. And the other things are, so you can see there are options at the left hand side like this. So if I click here, there are some table of sections, contents. So if you hit on section, it will be creating a section. So where you can write that so there is a comment or condition I have mentioned here that program starts here. So whenever you click on new section, there will be a new section created, and according to that, we can open, close whatever the part of the code that is there inside the program, like this. So you can write that like that if you need any kind of sections to be opened and closed in a simple purpose, etc. Right. That is also one of the very helpful option that is available with the Colab. Next one is if you want to write some name type shape kind of thing for whatever the variables that are here, you can also mention that here automatically by the Colab itself. You no need to specifically mention manually that, so okay, A is something like this, B is something like this, and C is something like this kind of way. It automatically takes the input, understands, and give us the outputs of what is its type and what is its shape, etc. Right. And another one is any kind of file folder that we want to access, we can drop it here. For example, if I want to upload any file from computer, so I can select any of the files that are available like this, and select them, like suppose intro 22. I can select them like this, and it will be displayed here. Right. So now it is uploaded to this part. Earlier, it asked me one, it popped me one warning that you can see it. Okay, now it is not here. So for the first time when you upload something, it will be popped with one warning that this is intermediate thing. That is, it won't save whatever the data that we are uploading here. So for that purpose, if you want to upload some kind of data and being used to that specific part of the program continuously whenever we open this program, we need to store it at some permanent place. This is a temporary place. Right. To store it in a permanent place, Google have gave us some kind of option that you can mount Google Drive. I have selected this and it is asking for the permission. Permit this notebook to access your Google Drive files. Yes, I wanted to connect. So I'm selecting the connect to Google Drive and it is redirected to this site. You can see it will take some time whenever first time you try to mount the Google Drive, but it will be showing it like this. So now you can see that my Google Drive is mounted after after I have gave enough permissions that what it is actually looking right. So now my Google Drive is like this and it is being seen whatever the conditions that are there here. For example, my Google Drive includes Classroom, Collab Notebooks, 3G, VNR, Archive, AIML, some forms like this. So you can see what are all the files that are there here, right? So Archive, Classroom, Collab Notebooks, 3G, VNR, and so on, right? So there are plenty of things like this that you can observe from the Google Drive. And if you want one of the what do we say, one of the file to be accessed here, you can select that specific folder and you can find what are there inside them. And if you find any other specific file to be open, you can select that one and open here. Right. I'll show you in another example how to access them, but to have a vague idea, this is how we can able to mount Google Drive and access that. Similarly, if we want to see what are all the basic what do we say, hidden files that are available with these folders, we can also see them. Okay. So whenever we don't want to use Drive, we can easily unmount it. Then there will be a revoke option asked by the Google Drive, and then we will be just accepting that, so that a connection between the Google Drive is unlinked, right? So like that we will be able to connect or disconnect the Google Drive option available to use whatever the data that we want to access through the Google Drive. Because when you upload some kind of data here, that is a temporary data, and whenever you close the program and shut down your system or log out from your account, the data that whatever you have uploaded here, which is a temporary data, will be lost. And that is the reason why we'll be trying to store the data sets whatever are available in the Google Drive by mounting Google Drive here and find out the path of the data set and given in the program. We will see in a short time later. Okay. So these are all the options that are available where we'll be working with some even the comment sections. We can also share this particular file with any of the Google groups that we have, etc. Right. So like this. So you can just create, ask some of its owner, some of the friends email address here, add them. So, or you can just create some kind of link here, and you can just send it like this. The link has been created, and when I am copying and pasting it in another part of the Chrome, we'll be just redirecting to open that. So this is how it is happening. Okay, clear?